story starts from before I was even born into this world. The doctors told my parents that I had a condition called an ophthalmosal, which meant my liver was growing on the outside of my body. And that always comes with a lot of other complications within the body. And so they saw that I had 3 holes in my heart and my lungs were going to be underdeveloped. So they told my parents that I wasn't going to live past birth, and if I did, I would be mentally or physically handicapped, most likely. And so they had a choice, but ultimately, for my parents, there was never any choice. They would always choose life. My mom holds on to Psalms 139 very tightly, and so she knew that the Lord had already written my days in His book. So I was born, and as you can tell, I am alive. Okay, so when I was born, my liver was on the outside of my body, and so I was rushed off to surgery, and ultimately the liver was put back in, but now all my organs are in different spots all over my body. So that's been really interesting growing up with organs in all separate different places. But most importantly, my liver is in the center of my stomach, not protected by my ribs. So it made it very difficult growing up. I couldn't play contact sports, and I had to watch what I did, and it was always very safe. I had to make sure that everything was safe, because if something did hit my liver, it would rupture and then I would die. So ultimately, it was really interesting growing up. It was great. I have a great family, great brothers, great parents. They love the Lord and they love me very well. And so that always made it a lot better, knowing that they always had my back through everything. But still, my health situation was never ideal for someone that was 6 or 8 or 10 or 12. But ultimately, May 30th, 2010 is really what changed my life. Although I say it changed my life, it never actually really changed, in my opinion. It just continued on the sovereign path that the Lord had laid out for me. But many people would say that it would have changed for the worse, but I don't really believe that. I'm thankful for my life now, and I'm thankful for May 30th, 2010, because without it, I wouldn't be where I am today. So May 30th, 2010 started out as a normal day. I was in a mixed doubles tennis tournament with one of my best friends. We made it to the finals, but the finals were canceled because of rain that never came. So we decided to go out on the boat with my family, and I'm from Florida, and so we went out on the boat all the time. Water sports were our thing, and tubing was my personal favorite. So we got on the tube and we're going and we're having a fun time, but I'm just really tired, right? And so I decided to fall off, but right as I fall off and hit the water, I immediately knew something was wrong. Right as I hit the water, a wave of numbness washed through me, and that's when I lost it and realized I was instantly paralyzed in all 4 limbs. So I was instantly paralyzed, like I said, and obviously it was a big shock. But ultimately the person that was also in the tube with me, he had to hold me above water so I wouldn't drown. I was in a life jacket, but the waves were hitting my mouth, so he swam over, and when I said it out loud is when I really realized what actually was happening, that I couldn't move anything. A lot of times when you hear about someone being paralyzed, it doesn't really register with you what that means, what that feels like, that they physically can't move. But you definitely can't move, and it's scary. It's extremely scary. But we ended up going to the hospital after intense pain had started, because my spinal cord had been shocked, so it interpreted everything differently. And once we got to the hospital, they ran a ton of tests, and it came back with one certain conclusion. So I was laying there in bed, and I remember the doctor coming in, and he said something like, "Katherine, I know you're 15, and I know this isn't what you want to hear, and I know you're very active, but you just had a spinal cord injury and you bruised your spinal cord. And that means you're never gonna move again. And for a 15-year-old that was extremely active, that had put all of her identity in movement, in sports, and in being able to run and play around and all that, obviously I was crushed. Anybody would have been. But the fact that there was nothing they could do for me to even give me a chance at it was disturbing and sad, to say the least. But they wouldn't let me go home until I could move my legs. And so a couple days later, my leg moved, and which was a miracle in and out of itself. But they said that if anything came back, it would be my legs. But my arms are a different story, and that there's a less than a 1% chance of you ever moving those again. So you might as well give up hope, basically. So when they told me that, they knew that all they could really do was send me home. So I went home, and I had to relearn how to walk, which was frustrating, but looking back, kind of comical, because I was the headstrong person that was like, no, I can walk, it'll be fine. And I remember my mom being like, no, your muscle memory is shocked, like, you're not gonna be able to move, or be able to walk the way you used to. And after trying and falling for the first time, I have mad respect for 1-year-olds, which is something I never thought I'd really say in this regard, but walking's hard, and balancing is hard. And so, but through that, there was a period of 2.5 months where my mom had to feed me and bathe me and dress me because I couldn't move my arms, let alone move my arms, but they also hurt when people touched them. Like, it was so sensitive that in the hospital room, my mom sprayed perfume up in the air, and when the particles came down and hit my skin, oh, it was bad. I like screamed bloody murder. It was awful. So if anybody touched me, it felt like a knife or a needle, depending on how and where they touched me. So all that being said, my mom's a rock star. She pretty much took care of me the whole time. And so all of a sudden, one day, 2.5 months later, or a month and a half, it was a while, my hands were stuck like this, and one day, this little finger decided to twitch. And let's just say, we definitely won the lottery that day. So me and my mom flipped out, obviously. We were so excited. I remember us just like glorifying the Lord and just praising Him just for the little twitch that had just occurred. And I'm sure people thought we were crazy, but we knew we weren't, because we knew that the Lord could do this the whole time. And as you know, the months went by little, I got it all back. But like I said, my muscle memory was shocked. So I had to relearn how to hold a pencil, how to write my name, how to throw a ball, how to do everything all over again. And stuff that I learned at age 1 through 5, I was learning again at 15, which was an interesting turn of events for someone that just wanted to get their permit and be independent. But you know what, I've learned a lot, and it's been great. And one cool thing that now I'm 21, and I look back on these past 6 years, and man, it's been heartbreaking. It's been doctors after doctors, test after tests, waiting on results, thinking that there's some solution to this, some solution to get better, because even though my spinal cord healed, it never actually healed right. So it left a lot of damage in its wake along the way. And so people see me now, and they think I'm great. And I am great. I'm better than I would have ever thought I would be at this point in my life, even if you would have asked me that at age 10. but I'm not great for the reasons they think I'm great. I have a lot of issues right now, and through the past 6 years, like I said, a lot's gone on to lead me to this point. But there's just a lot happening. I live in a chronic state of pain 24/7 in every inch of my body. I have had broken bones before and not even known it because my body always hurts that much. If someone touches me now, it still feels like a knife or a needle, depending on how and where they touch me. I'm on a ton of medicine that messes with my mind, messes with my studies at school, and messes with relationships, just cognitively remembering things, remembering memories, and all sorts of stuff like that. I've lost a lot in the past couple years. I've lost the ability to walk in a straight line. I lost the ability to stay up past 8:30 on a regular basis because then I won't be able to function the next morning. And being a college kid, that's saying something. But I've lost a lot, and I could go on and on about all the things that I've lost in this process. But ultimately, I've gained so much more. Okay, so like I said, I've lost a lot. Among those things is right now I'm currently losing motor function in my arms and legs, which makes holding on to things very difficult, which makes walking in a straight line very difficult, which makes running even difficult. Simple things, which makes me think in the future, like one of my biggest fears is not being able to hold my kid when they're crying because I'm afraid I'm going to drop them. So I have to just let them cry it out, or so then I have to make that choice. So there's just like a lot of things like that. But also I've lost the ability to wear rings on my fingers or bracelets on my wrists. Like on this necklace, I always keep my purity ring on it because there's no place to put it on my finger because it hurts too much. And that's just a spinal cord thing. That's just what happens, I guess, when your spinal cord's shocked. But with all that being said, like I said, I've gained so much more through all of this than as much as I've lost. And one thing that I love to talk about is how much I've learned about the Lord's sovereignty and just about how much you either believe He's sovereign or you don't. And there's no middle ground and there's no fence. And so that makes it to where, that makes it really easy to feel comfortable and find comfort and peace in a situation in which I have no control over. Knowing that my finite mind is not in control of this situation, which is absolutely incredible. Okay, many people ask me all the time, why do you think this happened to you? And a lot of times, I really don't know what to say, but I know one of the reasons is to glorify Christ. And ultimately, that's really the only reason I need. It gets me pumped thinking about that. And I really don't believe that our finite minds are supposed to fully comprehend an infinite God. Yeah, we may be able to understand some parts of Him, but I don't think that all the things that He has going on we're supposed to fully know. And so just leaning on His sovereignty and knowing that He's sovereign and trusting that is a big component that I've learned in the past couple of years. And another one is healing. A lot of people ask me, okay, well, if He's sovereign, like, when is He gonna heal you? Like, do you think that's even gonna happen? And if we're being honest, I've already been healed. And and I get excited thinking about that as well, because the Lord's not bound by time. He saw yesterday, today, and the future all at the same time, and to Him I'm healed, so to me I'm healed. And one thing I think humans, as being humans, we get so caught up in, because culturally it makes sense to us, but I really don't think that the Lord's faithfulness and goodness hinge on the human ability to see change. It's never been said that anywhere, but I think that we as humans try to make sense of things, and so that's what we say has to happen. So these direct improvements that I may see in the next 10 years or 20 years or maybe never, may be coming, but I've already been healed. That's already happened. That's already been finished on the cross. Another thing with the whole waiting on the direct improvements to come is that one of my friends was talking to me about this. Actually, one of my mentors that became more like a sister. She told me, Katherine, the Lord loves you enough to make these changes permanent. And I didn't really understand that, but she talked about how he could have healed me on the first day, and that would have been great. It would have been a really cool story, and we would have told the story and it would have been awesome. But for me personally, that would have done nothing for my eternal being. But because of these 6 years that I've learned these disciplines and learned all this stuff about the Lord and His faithfulness and His goodness and His love for me, I know that if I was healed today, that all these disciplines would carry out the rest of my life. But I also know that if I'm healed in 20 years, there's going to be tons of other disciplines that I'm learning that's going to carry on the rest of my life. Therefore, all of this, every part of the waiting, every part of the pain, every part of anything that I'm going through right now is purposeful. And it's because the Lord loves me so much that He's letting me go through it. And so I think that's really important for me, at least, to know that whatever I'm going through, small or big, that whatever it is, because the Lord is sovereign and because I've already been healed. And I'm just waiting on those direct improvements, and I'm not really waiting, I'm learning, and it's purposeful. And God loves me enough to make these changes permanent. And that's just a really cool thing to me. But on top of that, I think it's really important for people to realize that the only way that you're going to get something out of all this, something that I've learned, is you have to be obedient. And I'm sitting right here in a white chair talking to y'all. And if you would have told me, 2 years ago that I would be here, I probably wouldn't have believed you. Just because I put God in this box of, I'm in college, I can't really share my testimony with many people while I'm here. I'm gonna have to wait till I get out to do that. And then one day I got this email asking me to come speak at this education commission at my school. And I really didn't want to do it. My grandpa had just passed away that week, and I was not in a good place. I really didn't want to go speak in front of people. But I felt like I really needed to. And so I listened and was obedient and was uncomfortable and went to that thing. And I spoke and I shared my testimony. And that's where I met a man that was the president of the Mississippi Baptist Convention. And he asked me to come speak at his church in Natchez. And then he invited me to come speak at the convention. And now I've been asked to speak at churches all over Mississippi. And it all started with that one little step of obedience that has opened up a whole new world, whole new platform to glorify Christ on. And man, now I can't even imagine what senior year of college would have been like without it. Because ultimately glorifying Christ is the most important thing we can do. And that's what we're supposed to do. And we're supposed to glorify Christ and enjoy Him forever. That is what we're made to do. And without that one little step of obedience, I wouldn't be here being able to glorify Christ in this realm at all. And so it all starts with one little uncomfortable step of obedience. Fear and trust really can't coexist. There's not really a world in which those two opposing forces can really do much together. I used to tell people that the Lord's not going to take away my movement. That's not His heart. But I've never really heard that from the Lord. That's just something I came up with to make myself feel better. And that's when I realized I was fearful. I was afraid of that wheelchair, that I was afraid of being back in it. We went to a neurosurgeon recently, and he told me there was no surgery that could fix this, and that I could be back in a wheelchair in 6 months or 6 years or 60. There's no way to know, because it's a spinal cord injury, which is what I've heard my whole life. And he said just to enjoy every day what I can do, because I may wake up tomorrow and not be able to anymore. And so through this, I realized I have to trust. And so now I'm excited. I'm excited that I might get back in that wheelchair, which I'm not crazy. I'm not excited about the wheelchair. I'm excited about what the Lord can do through the wheelchair. And I truly believe that if I was fearful, this trusting would not be able to exist in the same arena that fear does. You really have to boot out all of it to really accept the trust and rely on the trust. And that's something that I've been learning through and through again, over and over. And there's even a possibility of open heart surgery coming up in the next couple of years. And when I heard the news, I wasn't even upset. I was excited because one of two things is going to happen. Rather, the Lord will be glorified because he'll supernaturally heal me like he has countless times before. Or I go through the heart surgery and I learn a ton and I get to glorify Christ through that and share that with others. So ultimately, fear and trust just, they can't coexist. And once you learn that and once you really get that, it makes everything so much better. People ask me a lot if you know what was going to happen, if you knew that you would be paralyzed, if you knew that you would have all this pain right now, if you knew that you wouldn't sleep more than 2 hours a night every night, if you knew that you're losing motor function and you may not be able to walk at age 25 or 45, would you get back in that too, knowing all of that? And I used to wrestle with it. It used to be a really, really hard thing because I wanted to say yes, but at the same time, I didn't want any of it. But now, 6 years out, I can say that without a doubt, I would get back in that tube in a heartbeat because this is the best version of my life because of the one that gave it to me. Nothing else could even come close to this wonderful life that I have right now. And I wouldn't change it for the world. And in Psalms 27:3, it talks about how when an army is encamped against me, I will stand confident. Though a war break out against me, even then I will not fear. And that's how you have to live. And my name is Katherine Farmer, and his grace is enough.